Wednesday. This is the Outline with Kevin Dwayne. As always, thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Remember, you can listen to this podcast at kevindwayne.com. You can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud. If you subscribe, all the episodes will wirelessly be delivered to your device, whether it's an iPad, computer, phone, whatever. You can catch up on the old episodes and always stay abreast of the new episodes when they drop. So those of you who are subscribed, thank you so much. Please make sure that you are rating these episodes and leave your comments. You can also send your questions to theoutlinetopics@gmail.com. And now that I've gotten that spill out the way, let's talk about Halloween. So this weekend is like, especially in the South, this is the weekend that a lot of people will be celebrating Halloween. That's something that has been different since I've been in the South versus when I was in LA. Because in LA, it didn't matter what day Halloween fell on, you just celebrated that day. At least that's how I remember it. Because I know I would always go to Santa Monica Boulevard or West Hollywood because there would be like a Halloween parade, and that was super fun because people are getting dressed up and people are drinking and walking across the street. You get to see all the crazy costumes, and it was just a fun night. But I remember whatever night it fell on was a night that we went out. It could be a Tuesday or Wednesday, and that would just be that, and you just charged it to the game and did it. Now in the South, people damn near pick a day. I think it's between Friday and Saturday of this weekend that people are having their parties and going out and having a good time. And if you go out, you'll notice that most people got that memo that that's the night to celebrate. And I thought that was kind of interesting about being on this side of the U.S. Now, for me, I'm not really a big fan of Halloween, like dressing up and all that shit. Never have been. Even as a kid, I just didn't care to wear any mask. Or wear costumes. I never got it. I always tell people that, I pretended to be straight for almost 17 years, so I've had my fair use of wearing costumes and masks. So I'm good, but y'all can have it. No judgment. Enjoy it. I don't give a damn how old you are, how young you are. If you enjoy Halloween, do it, because I get it. I don't want to knock anyone's fun. For me, I'd rather stay my black ass at home. It's always been that way. But you can run me some candy. I like Snickers. I like Milky Ways, occasional sour candy. I'm cool with that. But costumes and all that shit, never been my thing. Never. Every costume that I have worn has probably been in my closet already and I made some shit up, or I had access to it. When I used to work at a karate studio, a lot of you guys probably don't even know that part of me. For about 5 years, I worked at a karate studio, and I was a teacher of young children. And I remember one year, the first year I was there, I was able to take one of the gis, and I wore that. I was like, all right, it's convenient. So I was a sensei for the day, It was out of convenience. I didn't go searching for it. People are like, oh, that's so cool. You're being a black belt for Halloween. I'm just like, oh, okay. This was just at the job, and I picked it up. And that's always been my kind of flow. I don't know. I'm just not trying to use disposable income on a costume. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I'm good. But I am for a good time and stuff like that. But whatever. So this weekend, have fun with Halloween. Do your thing. I get it. Get your life. I'm probably going to stay my black ass at home because this is like the one weekend where I don't have like hella gigs and stuff. So I'm going to catch up on some editing. I'm going to chill. I'm going to watch some TV. I'm going to just relax. And that's usually my normal thing while everybody else is out with their wonderful, costumes and stuff. But just not for me. I'm good, but I do miss being able to go to Santa Monica and seeing all the craziness and whatnot. All that to say is, don't be offended if I'm not coming to your parties and stuff, because I have been invited to a few things this weekend, and I don't see it. And it's nothing against the people, or I'm just not a Halloween fan. And I don't know. I'm good. But have fun. But Halloween is officially on Monday, but I know in Atlanta at least people are celebrating Friday and Saturday. So enough about that. So let's talk about what's going on in, I guess, social media and stuff like that. Something that caught my eye earlier today, or not even earlier today, yesterday actually. I was on Twitter and I noticed that Trick Daddy was trending. Now, when obscure rappers from the 90s and early 2000s pop up on my timeline, I tend to think very small things. I'm like, either they're dead, about to be dead, or said something that makes people want them dead. And it was the third option. So Trick Daddy, you'll be familiar with him. He had such songs like Shut Up, I'm a Thug, and my favorite, You Don't Know Nan Nigga, Nope, Nope. And we found out about Trina through him, so it's all good. He's a Miami rapper. He disappeared because he had I forget, he has a certain illness that took him out the public eye. But anyway, he put up this Instagram video, in a nutshell, kind of bashing black women, or just saying that they need to step their game up because white and Spanish women, they're starting to get the same type of bodies as black women, and they apparently look better. And as soon as these black and Spanish women learn how to cook and, do things that black women should be doing, there won't be any use for black women. And that's pretty much what he said in a nutshell. He's saying, black women, you need to tighten up because we out here choosing these white and Spanish women. I don't really have to explain why that's problematic. So I'm just going to go into the fact of, why is it that these ugly motherfuckers, I'm meeting so many people or encountering so many people like Trick Daddy who are just out here like looking like Pillsbury Doughboys in the face and still got bunk in their system, ain't got shit really popping for themselves, but then have the nerve to talk like they just out here choosing what they want. And I don't knock it. Maybe you're able to, trick people into, being with you and serving you and cooking for you and sleeping with you, but you ain't no prize, is what I'm saying. And that's not just to Trick Daddy, it's to a lot of these dudes out here. And there's some women too who really ain't bringing shit to the table, but think you can have like a list of fucking demands and requirements and things that people need to be in your company, and you can't even match the shit. And that's really what I thought about when I watched that clip on Instagram by Trick Daddy. I'm like, have you seen you? Especially as of late. Trick Daddy ain't never been no pretty motherfucker, but especially now. And you got the nerve to tell somebody they need to tighten up so they can get chose by your ugly ass? Nah, get the fuck out of here. Get all the way out of here with that shit. It's that entitlement. It's that ego. And I'm just tired of people attacking black women. I'm tired of this. It's bullshit. It's always this idea that black women are never good enough to be wifed or whatever. It's always this idea, oh, well, these Spanish chicks or these white chicks is doing this and this and the other. And it's I don't want to dig too deep into it, but Trick Daddy, eat a dick. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. It's too early in the week. I just Nah, nigga, it ain't working out. So the show, are you guys watching Black Mirror on Netflix? If you're not, please do. Season 3 just came on. Some people were saying that it feels like the show just popped up. The reason that is because it was a show that It had 2 seasons and it only had 3 episodes each season. And it started off in the UK and it was just streaming on Netflix. Well, Netflix now owns the rights and they produced the show. So, of course, now that it's a Netflix original show, well, not original, but now that it's a Netflix funded show, they're going to put it on the main screen. So, more people are seeing it now, thinking to themselves, like, oh, it's a new show. It's not a new show. If you haven't watched the first 2 seasons, they are amazing. Season 3 just premiered last Friday. I'm done. I watched them all. I will say it was good. The season was good, but it had a certain level of darkness this go round that wasn't present in the other seasons. That it was just, I don't know if it was because it's been Americanized or what it is, but they definitely took a different kind of approach this season, but it was still very, very good. The episodes were a little more haunting this go round. Like, I couldn't just binge watch them. There were a couple that I had to pause and be like, okay, I need a break before I watch another episode because I'm a little shook right now, especially after episode number 2, which is called Playtest. I won't tell you what it's about. You have to watch it, but please watch Black Mirror. And if I had to describe it, I would say Black Mirror is a type of show that it's a psychological show that deals with technology and kind of like tenets of society, and it's almost like Twilight Zone. So it takes things that we're familiar with and it takes it to a whole nother level of like it will fuck with your mind. So check it out. Please watch season 1 and 2 first. They're really, really good. And you can probably binge watch the entire show, all 3 seasons, in a weekend. You can do that this weekend, actually, because there's only 3 episodes in the first 2 seasons, and there's 6 episodes in the 3rd season, and they're only an hour each. So if you start on Friday, you'll be done by Sunday. You can catch up on all of them. But it's really, really good and very well done, and it's not hard to grasp at all, but it will fuck with your mind. Like, this season had so many different things. I'm like, listen, I don't even know what to do with myself right now. But I certainly couldn't just watch it all in one move. I had to be like, let me take a couple hours off because I got to get this. I gotta think about this. But it is good. It is good. But definitely there's been some liberties taken for this 3rd season now that Netflix is funding it. And I think because they also have more money, so you're getting a little bit more cinematography. But it was a good season. But there are a couple things I just feel like it was just really haunting. It felt like it's taking this turn of like, how much can we freak the viewer out? But that's all I have to say about that. Every year, me and my one of my best friends, I know you guys are like, how many best friends does he have? And to answer your question, there's like 6 of them, and they're really my family. They're really my family, and I'm gonna talk about that more in the table topic a little bit later, or at least how I feel about, friends as family and stuff like that. But me and my good friend Garrett, we always like to write or create a top 10 list of music, our favorite albums of the year, typically, right before the new year, December time. But something about 2016 is this has been a blockbuster year when it came to music. I mean, media in general. We've gotten so many shows and so many so many albums, so many good things happened in entertainment this year, and I feel like it's gonna go down in history as such. Like, I don't know what my top 10 is going to be this year as far as albums. So many albums came out this year to the point that I had to go back and look at my recently added playlist on iTunes. You can go back, almost a year, I believe. And I had to remind myself of albums that came out at the top of the year that I forgot about. So much has come out, and a lot of it was good as hell. Like, the albums that were released this year weren't mediocre at all. Like, they all were standouts. So it's like, how is this top 10 gonna look? How am I gonna rank these people? Because there's a lot of stuff I like equally. And just an example of some albums that I love that came out this year, you have Rihanna Anti, Beyonce Lemonade, Solange A Seat at the Table, Kanye's Pablo, Tweet Charlene, JoJo Mad Love. There's this artist named Grace who released her Forgive My Attitude FMA album, really amazing album. Division's album. K. Michelle released her album this year. Nao, PJ, Big Sean and Janae's set came out this year. BJ the Chicago Kid, Vontae Eric Roberson, which is, they go by Tigalero. Like, those are only a few of the things that dropped this year. And I'm like, how do I rank these? Like, I played all of these albums, like, end to end. And there's so many tracks that I love. And I'm like, shit, what's this top 10 gonna look like? And let's not forget about, like, the EPs that dropped and singles. And a lot of new music came out this year. And it has been an amazing year. And the funny thing is, we're not even done. I think Mary J. Blige has her album dropping in December as well, from what I've read. And it's been crazy. Like, music has been at an all-time high this year. Everybody came out the gate in 2016. No games played. So I'm thinking now of what my top 10 is going to be. What did you guys top 10? Do you guys have your top 10 ready for the year? Let me know. You can at me on Twitter or on Facebook. Let me know what are some of your favorites of the year. I know that Solange A Seat at the Table is on a lot of people's lists. It's definitely on mine. And oddly enough, I don't think I'd ever say this otherwise, but it might place higher than Lemonade for me this year. I enjoyed Lemonade, but there were some other albums that I enjoyed more, and I think I enjoy A Seat at the Table slightly more than I do Lemonade. I love Lemonade. I mean, it's B, but I think A Seat at the Table might place higher for me on my list. And I feel the same way about Rihanna's Anti, and there were just so many good albums this year, y'all. Like, I don't even know. So many. Like, bravo to all the people who were on their shit in the studio, who really thought about lyrics and production and content and timing. Like, Fantasia's album came out this year too. Like, there were so many good pieces of music this year. So just something to think about. End of the year, what's on your top 10 list? Let me know. Formulate it. Tag me. I'd love to see what you guys listen to this year and how you rank your own artists. Because I think that's always fun to hear people's reasoning on why they give certain people certain placements and, what drives home those ratings. Is it vocal quality? Is it production? Is it lyrics? Is it concept, artwork, promo? Like, what is it that makes you place people on your list? So let me know. I'd be interested to hear what your top 10 is for this year. Or if you didn't like music at all this year, maybe you thought it was a terrible year of music. Maybe you thought people need to step their game up. That's possible too. But I know for me, I'm overwhelmed by all the good music this year. So something I'm thinking about. And finally, something I wanted to touch on was this whole Drake released a couple songs earlier this week. One was called Two Birds, One Stone. And he took aim at Pusha T and Kid Cudi. Now, to give you some background, at least on the Kid Cudi aspect of it, Kid Cudi had a rant a little time ago, pretty much, going off about Drake and Kanye West not being authentic, and of course alluding to Drake, having a ghostwriter, which that's coming up quite often. And it makes you think, like, is it a bandwagon thing, or does he really have a ghostwriter? Because it's one thing if people are really calling you out and saying, okay, dude, I know what you're doing, and it's foul. versus people just using it as a publicity thing. Like, oh, it's popular to call him say he has a ghostwriter and, you know, get a write up in this mag. It's kind of like what I think what goes on with Chris Brown. Chris Brown is still very much a fuckboy, but because of his previous fuckboy activities, it's easy for people to use him as a target for bad behavior. Like, for instance, the situation with the Becky chick who you know, said that he pulled a gun out on her and that whole ordeal, and it turns out she was lying. It was easy for people to believe that because of the image he already put out, and it becomes a bandwagon thing to where you can't do any good because people already have this image of you based on previous behavior. And he kind of brought that on himself because of the things he's done in his past, but it's not always the truth when people say that these people have done bad things. So with the Drake thing, I wonder, is it just because it's trendy to say he has a ghostwriter, or maybe he actually does? But I also want to know why Drake feels the need to even defend it and talk about it. If you don't do, just ignore it. Like, seriously, I know it sucks, but you're still one of the biggest stars out right now. Like, obviously your fans don't care that goddamn much. So whatever. So anyway, Drake releases this Two Birds, One Stone. He takes diss at Kid Cudi and Pusha T. Now, a couple weeks ago, Kid Cudi put out a public message about going to rehab and getting help because he was dealing with depression. And the black community really, you know, showed up and was like, you know what? We respect this, and, you know, take care of yourself, because mental health is something that is commonly ignored among our people. And so for someone to admit it, it took a lot of courage, and people, you know, have been sending him well wishes and hoping him to get better. This also put out a storm of think pieces on big media sites about mental health. So it started a really good conversation, and it's been pretty positive in the sense of like, yeah, like that's dope that he would even allow himself to be vulnerable and say that he's been dealing with, you know, suicidal thoughts and things of that nature. And so it was already a sensitive subject. Well, Drake decides to take aim at that in the Two Birds, One Stone. Now, for Drake, I think he's looking at it from a standpoint of like, oh, well, he was talking about me, so this is just me dissing him. But the timing, bro, the timing is terrible. It lacks couth. It lacks respect. And I know you upset because, you know, your name was in his mouth, and, you know, he is like the 12th, 100th person to say that you have a ghostwriter. But this wasn't the time to take aim at him. And so the lyrics are as follows in the song, or at least the section that talks about him. And it says, in quotes, "You were the man on the moon, now you just go through your phases. Life of the angry and famous. Rap like I know I'm the greatest, then give you the tropical flavors. Still never been on hiatus, you stay zanned and perked up. So when reality set in, you don't gotta face it. I'm down 200 in Vegas, but winning life on a daily basis. It seems like nobody wants to stay in my good graces. I'm like the real estate agent putting you all in your places. Look what happens soon as you talk to me crazy. Is you crazy?" Now, all of this shit is pretty much ego. It's literally the same rollout he had with Meek Mill. It's like, you know, let me hit you below the belt. The only difference between this and Meek Mill is like, this is a really serious issue, and it's something that we already have little knowledge on in our community. And so you decide to call him crazy and say that, you know, he's taking all these pills and he's going through phases, and it's just you're downplaying a serious issue, and it's just in poor taste. I'm not gonna say, oh, I hate you, Drake, or fuck Drake, because that's literally been the extreme that has gotten to. And honestly, you deserve the pushback you're getting, Drake, because you shouldn't have did that shit. Like, it's just in bad taste. It's bad timing. It's just bad timing. You're kicking someone while they're down just so you can feel better about your ghostwriting. Because at this point, I'm convinced you're doing it too because you're pushing back way too hard. Like the timing was terrible. You should have either responded earlier or later, but right now it's just not it. It makes you look like a child, especially with the response. So because of the heat he's been getting in media and social and media and Twitter and all that shit, wherever else comments are sold, um, he responded with the statement, "Mans needs to stop mentioning my name when they get geeked. Supposed to be all love out here. Word to my bro Pablo." Whatever the fuck that means. Um, I get it. He should have never had my name in his mouth. So it looks like Drake is sticking to his song naturally, but it was still in poor taste, bro. You can act like a child. You can act like you was just clapping back. That's cool, but you're a grown ass man. You're grown, dude. Like it was in poor taste, and you deserve the backlash that you're getting. Period. It just is what it is. So let's just ride this out, and let it be what it is. But you're foul for that, and it's getting tiring. And I don't get where Drake's career is going. It was a big year for him. They say that I think One Dance is the most streamed song in the history of Spotify, and Views has sold really, really well. But it's kind of his worst work, though. When you think about his other albums, this shit is trash. I think what's has sold everything is his popularity. Drake is in that part of his career where it's like peak. So whatever you put out is going to sell because it's you and your fans love you. But the music itself is actually not that good for me. I played the album 1.5 times. Once all the way through when I was driving to a gig in Augusta. And then I played it again, just trying to like connect with it. And that was it. I moved on. I didn't look back. It's not on my faves list of the year. It's nothing. It's not like Take Care or Thank Me Later or if you're reading this, like he's had much better work with less effort. And I feel like Views is just whatever. But it's doing really well on the charts and selling well, but that's not a sign of good music for me. It's just not. It's not on my top 10 list. So I feel like this isn't the time, Drake, to be alienating people because they're going to see you for who you are and they're going to see that your music actually isn't inspired anymore and you're running out of shit to talk about. So I tread lightly. Those are my views. But yeah, that is it as far as like what's going on in media and stuff like that. As far as the table topic, I don't really know how I want to connect this completely, but I want to talk about family. Something this can be controversial for some, and I hope it is because I'm always interested to hear other perspectives, respectfully. But family. The whole idea of, blood being thicker than water and just that whole idea of always standing by family, always respecting family, even if they don't respect you. That's never been my shit. Ever, ever, ever. I don't know if it was the way I was raised or maybe it's because I was born on the West Coast. I don't know. But my computer, meaning my body, my life, my computer did not come with the built-in software of Family First. It never did. It never came with I don't have that feature. I treat people as they treat me is what I'm saying. So one thing I see a lot, whether it be around people around me or just in situations, are let me slow down because I want to explain this right, you guys. Just the idea that no matter what, if someone's in your family, say it's a sister, a brother, mother, father, whatever, there's this idea that you have to put up with their shit because they're family and blood is thicker than water. That's your family. That's your family. That's your family. But I've always looked at that as bullshit. I didn't choose to have you as a sister. I didn't choose to have you as a brother. Hell, I didn't choose my mother, my father, none of that shit. So I don't understand why by default I gotta have your back on some shit, even if you're wrong, or even if it hurts me, or even if you're not reciprocating that shit. That's never been me. And so I keep seeing these situations with people where, say they have like a brother or something and that person just completely disrespects them. Like completely disrespects them, like doesn't help out, doesn't call, doesn't do anything, constantly like they're pretty much enemies in the household. I'm like, always doing some crazy shit. And then it gets to a place where they fall out. And then they don't want to talk or something. Or they're like, I don't fuck with my brother. I don't do this. And then you'll have like someone in the family or like your mom or dad or anybody will come to you and be like, you wrong. Y'all need to get this together. Y'all family. Y'all brother and sister. Y'all need to, it's family. You don't treat your family like that. That's your brother. And we do this in society based off of just how we're born. We're born into this shit. But here's the thing. I didn't choose to be born. I didn't choose it's always in the better interest of the parents, I think, because those are their kids. And I get it. Naturally, as a parent, you want your kids to get along. And you should raise them to get along. But here's the thing. You should also raise them to respect each other. Shout out to Wabi, one of my other best friends. She has 2 boys and she raised them to respect each other. And they're really good friends and they look out for each other. That's dope. But when you just have kids, if you don't raise your kids to respect each other, like literally you're just like, you just let them fight and have all these issues and then you take sides and do all this stuff and they fall out. The interest of them getting being on one accord is only for you. If someone feels like they're not getting the respect they need, they're going to keep moving away from that. They're going to keep pushing away because it's like, yeah, you're my brother. Yeah, we grew up in the same house. But if you don't respect me and if you're constantly doing shit, I don't have to have you in my life. I don't have to put up with your shit. And that's always been my view. I've always been that way. I don't know. I just never understood it. I'm like, if I had like a cousin or something that was an asshole to me, I don't want to be around them. And I wouldn't be around them because that's bad energy. I learned how to curate my family, meaning a lot of my friends are my family because they have my best interests at heart and I have their best interests at heart. They've been there for me in hard times. They've been there with me through transitions. They have just simply been there. They've been that shoulder to cry on. They've been that person to talk to and be vulnerable with. Whereas there are some people, not all people, there are some good people in my family. If any of my family is listening to this podcast, don't be offended. There are some good people in my family that I do care about. But there have been people that I have met that aren't in my bloodline who have become my family, who have done more for me, who have been there for me more than people in my bloodline. And so I always question the idea that just because someone is in your family tree that they get a different honor or this high honor of just like, oh, that's family. Nah, you got to earn some shit with me. And I've always been that way. And I know that's controversial for some people, especially those who are just like, oh, but family, family, family. Oh, that's my family. That's my blood. That's cool. That's beautiful. But they got to respect you. And I think the biggest thing for me was when I came out of the closet. That's when I really started viewing things and saying, actually, I'm good. Um, when I told my mom, I was cool. I didn't give a fuck about nobody else. I remember it kind of was starting to cycle through the family because people would hit me up and say, hey, watch what you post on Facebook or watch what you post here because, people in the family are talking about you and saying this. And I would be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm like, my mom knows. The people that I want to know. All y'all other motherfuckers are extra. I'm not trying to be in y'all lives and none of that. I don't kick it with y'all. All y'all doing is talking. That's all y'all doing. I don't give a fuck about that. Keep talking. I'm not gonna curate my life to make you comfortable. And that's when I was just like, what the fuck? Why do you feel like you even have a say over it just because you're in my family? And that whole idea like, oh, don't disgrace the family. Don't do this for the family. Oh, this is your cousin. This is that. Fuck that. You got to earn your place in my life. And that's ultimately what I'm saying. Being in the South, I see it a lot. I hear so many people's stories of growing up and just the things they put up with, even as adults. Like, there's people who are gay and, their family won't acknowledge it or they ignore it or tell them it's a lifestyle and they do all this adjusting just so they can have Sunday dinner. And I'm the one who's always like, fuck the family. Shit, the family fucked my husband. Yeah, that's from Soul Food. If you don't know that, you're probably too young to be listening to this podcast. But I never understood sacrificing yourself and who you are and what you say and holding back certain comments just because someone is in your bloodline. Like let's say you have like this auntie, and this auntie is like super mean and like they always have comments about your hair and your body and what you're doing with your life and all this shit. And they're always insulting you and they're always doing certain things. But then as soon as you say something back to them, it's seen as disrespectful. And then someone is like, oh, that's wrong. That's your aunt. You shouldn't talk to her like that. And you be like, but she's been disrespecting me all this time. Did you hear what she said to me? And people are like, no, but that's your aunt though. You don't do that. Show some respect. Fuck that. She disrespected me. Like, listen, I'm sorry. It is what it is. I may go down to history as someone who is just wild or not a family man. I'm okay with that. But respect is reciprocated. You're not going to treat me any kind of way and then demand respect from me. And that's how I view family. I don't have to put up with your shit. Like, real talk. Luckily, I had great parents growing up. As many know, I was raised by my aunt and uncle. Those were my parents. They've passed on, but they were awesome to me. And I respected them and they respected me and stuff like that. But let's say my life was different. Let's say they did crazy things to me growing up. Let's say they abused me. I would cut their asses off as soon as I got the chance to. Raise me or not. If you were abusive to me, if you hurt me, if you did things that were detrimental to me and my health, fuck you being in my family. Fuck you doing the bare minimum of taking care of me. If you abused me, disrespected me, and constantly did things to hurt me, I do not have to keep you in my life just because you're in my bloodline. And so many people have this view. So many people feel like, but that's my family. That's my cousin. That's my mom. That's my dad. That's my brother. It's my family. But if they don't respect you, they're not your fucking family. Fuck them. They don't get a pass because they're in your bloodline. You didn't choose them. You were born into it. That is it. Respect is the minimum. And I'm just seeing it so much. Like, how about this? How about this? I'm not saying you can't love your family because there's memories there, there's build up, there's shit like that. But some people have to be loved from afar. How about that? Um, like for me, my coming out story is lighter than most people's. I've heard some terrible coming out stories. I still hear terrible coming out stories. And the biggest thing I hear from people is, my family, we're not really cool right now because they don't like, that I'm gay. And, it hurts because I feel like I'm losing my family and it just sucks. And I wish I never would have came out. And I always tell people, like, no, you honored yourself by coming out. If, like, you're not losing your family, they're losing you because you're the same person. All you did was reveal what your sexuality was, which actually doesn't really affect them. And so if they can't accept you, they're losing you because that's a choice that they made. That's a choice that they made to push you out and cast you out and treat you differently. They're losing you. You shouldn't have to live your life behind a mask in a costume to make other people comfortable, especially because they're your family. Fuck that. Fuck that. I'm not going to sacrifice who I am to go to a motherfucking yearly barbecue. Fuck you and that potato salad. I'm good. But that's my view. I feel like we give family too much of a pass, even when they hurt us. Anybody can get cut off. Anybody. That's just how anybody can be cut off. Blood or not. You have to be for me. And that's what I was speaking of earlier with all my best friends. My closest friends, they are more than that to me. Like I almost get emotional when I think about my closest friends. Like, they were there for me in my dark. When I lost my parents, in 2012, crazy year. That's how I ended up in Atlanta. My mother passed, followed by my mother passing. A week after her funeral, I got laid off. Then I decided to move to Georgia. I moved to Georgia. As soon as I got to Georgia, my dad died. And when I say my mom and dad, I mean my aunt and uncle, but they raised me. They're my parents. My dad died as soon as I got to Georgia. 2 weeks after that, my grandmother died. This was all from March 21st to June 15th that this happened. All this happened. Mother, father, grandmother died, lost my job, moved to Atlanta. So a lot of transition happened. And I got to really see who my friends were. And that's why they're more to me than just friends. They're not in my bloodline, but you know what? I would do anything for each and every one of them because they were there for me in my darkest time. And they took care of me. And we know each other's deepest, darkest secrets. And it's different. And I respect them because they respect me. I honor them because they honor me. And I can't say the same for people in my family that I grew up with. People that have been there since I was a kid or a child. I can't say that for a lot of people. So I just don't think they should get a higher honor than the friends or the family that I've curated. The people that are literally there in my corner that I have soul ties with. It just, nah. That's all I'm saying. Just because your blood doesn't give you a pass, you still have to earn respect. And you get that by showing it. And that's where the divide is for me and a lot of people. I know I can go on a date and talk to somebody and we'll talk about family. And I just don't have the same views. I don't. If someone tells me that someone in their family is disrespecting them, I'm like, well, you need to let them know. And they're like, but that's my bro. Or that. Fuck that. Fuck that. I don't care. You didn't choose that to be your bro. And if they aren't a benefit to you, why should you be a benefit to them? Fuck that. I see people like literally going into debt and doing all these things out of guilt and all of this just because that's their blood, that's their family. You ain't getting no extra points. You ain't get nah. It's not, because if that bond is so strong, why are they doing that to you? And I'm talking about the bad family. I'm not talking about family in general, because I know people hear what they want to hear. So someone might hear this podcast and be like, no, Kevin, you're wrong, or whatever. I'm talking about the people where the respect isn't there. I'm talking about I'm talking about the cousins that ain't shit. I'm talking about the siblings who actually are your enemies, who actually don't hate you. I'm talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who abuse you and take advantage of you. They don't have to be in your life. You can cut them off at any time. Stop saving family for a rainy day. That's another thing too. I think people deal with other people's shit because they fear rain. They fear a hard time. They fear like one day I'm probably going to need them. But one thing I've learned about life, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, the right people are sent when they're needed. So if you have a hard time ahead, there'll be someone there for you. It'll be curated that way because people are sent for a reason. Stop holding on to these toxic ass relationships for a rainy day. Because guess what? When you have your rainy day, they're going to show you how much they respect you. And I guarantee you it's not going to be any better than it is when you aren't having a rainy day. It's going to be worse. So go ahead and cut these toxic people out of your life now and save yourself the trauma. Family or not. Family or not. Yeah. Those are my thoughts. That's what I've been kind of thinking with. Sometimes we give family too much credit just because we were born into it or we have the memories or growing up. But one thing I've learned about being a kid with someone is way different than being an adult with that same person. As a kid, you're supervised and monitored by adults, and certain things happen because you have no choice. You got to deal with it. Like having siblings, you got to deal with sharing space. You got to be around that cousin because, that's your mom's nephew, and you know what I mean? Like shit like that. You got to be around these people. When you become an adult, if someone is abusing you, taking advantage, not showing respect, you can cut them the fuck off with no problems. Stop being bound by blood. It's just not, if it's not beneficial, if it's causing you stress, if it's toxic, they can get cut off too. Curate your life with people who actually have your back and love the others from afar. And that's that. Yeah. Yeah. That is the outline. I feel like I can't say shit else after that. Thank you so much for listening, and I will peep you guys next week. Yep. Have a great week. Peace out.